It's been almost 5 years since then, but I used to be married. At the time, I was 28 years old and working for a medical equipment manufacturer, and my 24-year-old wife was also working. My wife's company required her to travel a lot, and she was away from home most weekends. But I was so in love with her that I asked her to marry me as soon as we met through a friend's introduction. I was supporting my wife's work. My wife seemed to be concerned about the fact that I was often away from home, and when I was home, she took care of me to the point that I didn't have to do anything. Looking back now, I think things were going well. One day, however, my wife told me that she had been asked to go abroad on a business trip. I was honestly sad to hear that it was a long-term trip and was seriously going to miss her. But my wife said, "I'll miss being with you, but this will be rewarding. They said I can come home when I find a new business partner, so just you wait." I couldn't say anything to my wife, who seemed to be enjoying herself, and I thought she was really nice, working hard, so I decided to push my feelings aside and set her off with a smile. My wife was also making quite a bit of money, but when I gave her enough money to buy a small car, because she needed so many things, she was surprised, but I remembered how happy I was when she thanked me for it. Then my wife left for her trip. At first, I could see my wife's face through frequent video calls. We would say to each other, "A long-distance relationship, isn't it refreshing?" But then, after about 6 months, things started to change. First of all, my wife rarely contacted me anymore. She often doesn't answer when I call her, and when I try to video call her, she doesn't pick up, only to send me a text message later saying she's tired. I know she's busy, but is it okay that she's so tired that she can't even be reached? I was naturally worried, but just then I received a text message from my wife saying that she wanted to talk to me. I was happy to be able to contact her via video call for the first time in a while, but I was worried about her work, and suddenly she said, "Look, I want a divorce." I froze, not understanding what she was saying. I couldn't keep up with what she was saying, so she continued to talk sadly. She said that she had been feeling tired recently, so she had a medical checkup there and found a strange shadow. Upon closer examination, a serious disease was found. The disease, designated as intractable, and no cure has been found. In other words, she has an incurable disease. I couldn't believe the suddenness of the story, but my wife showed me a piece of paper. She said it was a medical certificate. If you ask me, it certainly looks like that. Do you understand now? I don't want to cause you trouble, so I want a divorce. I couldn't leave my wife, even more so if she were sick. I said, "I'm coming over there right now." And she panicked and yelled, "Don't come." I said, "Why? Why can't I go?" "I still want to work. I want to finish what I'm doing. I haven't told the company about my illness yet, and if you come, they will find out. So please don't come. Also, don't tell my parents. If they make me go back home, I will hate you for the rest of my life." And while I was unable to say anything, the call was disconnected, and I was devastated by the reality of the situation. Why did my wife have to go through this? Why didn't I see it? I should have gotten sick instead. I should have gone with her on our business trip overseas. I couldn't sleep that day, thinking these thoughts over and over. After that day, I couldn't contact my wife at all. No matter how many times I tried to call her, she wouldn't get through, and no matter how many emails I sent, she never replied. I couldn't contact her at work or at my in-laws because she told me not to. I couldn't contact her at work or my in-laws because she told me not to, and I was so worried and impatient that I was almost losing my mind. Then one day, I received an airmail. The only thing inside was divorce papers. I was shocked. I realized that something was wrong. I felt that everything was going too well. In the first place, when did my wife, who is abroad, get the English divorce papers? As I was pondering, I received a video call from my wife for the first time in a while. "Did you get the divorce papers?" I knew the timing was too good. It was like a well-timed call, even though it was supposed to be midnight at my wife's place because of the time difference. I went straight to my wife with my question. "I got it, but where did you get this?" And my wife said with a cool look on her face, "I've been sick since before my business trip. That's why I got it in advance." The other day, she told me that she had been feeling sick recently and had gone to the hospital, but today she told me that she'd been feeling sick since she was in the U.S. I knew it didn't add up. My wife, perhaps noticing my suspicion, suddenly started coughing. "I'm sorry. It's hard for me to move these days. I've been taking some medicine, but it's very expensive and I'm running out of money. I'm sorry, could you send me some more?" She asked me for money. When I asked her what she wanted, she said $10,000. I was surprised, but my wife said calmly, "I'm sorry, but this is the end. I won't bother you anymore, please." I was suspicious of my wife, but the pained look on her face made me panic, and I agreed to send her the money. Then my wife suddenly got excited and said, "Really? I'm glad. Then please do it as soon as possible. Oh, and make sure you file the divorce papers." And the call was disconnected. But she was just coughing painfully. I didn't think she was telling the truth. I knew she was acting strangely. Thinking back, I felt that the coughing was intentional, so I took the plunge and called my wife's office. The person who answered the phone happened to be a coworker who was also a friend of my wife's. Her answer was beyond my predictions. My wife was not on an overseas business trip. I hung up the phone in confusion and looked at the airmail I received from my wife again and noticed something strange. The postmark was in English. That convinced me. I knew she was not abroad. She was somewhere in America. I found myself crumpling the envelope, but I hastily opened it back up to try and smooth out the wrinkles. I thought this would be another important piece of evidence. It was easy to imagine why my wife had lied and left the house. I knew she was cheating on me. I immediately asked a private investigator to search for my wife. The result came out relatively quickly. My wife was living with a man in the U.S., and she was begging me for money to live with him. My anger reached its peak, and while I was looking at the report from the investigator, I thought of a good revenge and started to take action immediately. I need to make my wife pay for her sins, of course, but I also need to make the man between us pay for his sins as well. There was no way I could forgive them for lying to me and trying to cheat me out of my money. I asked my lawyer to send a content-certified letter to my wife. Soon after she received the content-certified mail, I received a video call from my wife. "Hey, what's this all about? Why do I have to pay alimony?" She was ranting and raving, forgetting that she was sick. I calmly told her, "It's exactly what it says there. You have to pay me for deceiving me." "What do you mean I deceived you? I can't believe you're asking someone with an incurable disease to pay you alimony. You're evil." I sighed to my wife, who was ranting and raving. I regained my composure and sent the picture to my wife's phone. "Who's the evil one here? Can you still say that after seeing this?" My wife was absolutely mortified when she saw the picture. I sent her the picture the investigator took. My smiling wife is laughing with her arms around a man. I said to my wife, who remained silent, "You've been cheating on me, haven't you? The overseas business trip and the illness were outright lies. You did it all to live with this man." When I prodded her for conviction, she looked impatient and began to make excuses. "No, it's not like that. In other countries, this is what you do with friends. It's completely normal. It's crazy of you to suspect that I'm cheating on you." I snickered when I heard that line. Overseas. Are you still talking like that? Look at the picture. What language is the sign behind you guys written in? The sign behind my wife and the man are all in English. You can even see a plate with an address on it on a telephone pole. They're obviously in America. After I pointed this out to her, I also added, "And where do you think I sent the content-certified mail? You can't send it if you don't know the address." "But that's..." My wife fell silent at my words. And to my wife, I said, "I called the company, and they said there was no such thing as an overseas business trip." My wife was so upset that I could tell even over the phone, but she didn't give up and tried to blabber on and on about it after that. You don't need to make any more excuses. I've already looked into it, I finally said to her. She cries as she said, No. I was getting more and more amused. I started to make it a joke about the incurable disease. My wife insisted that the disease was real, but I had already done my research. I knew that I recognized the logo on the certificate. My company deals with medical equipment. Many of our customers are doctors. So I asked a doctor I know to take a look at the medical certificate. The logo was from Hospital A, where the doctor works, but the format was different, so I knew it was a forgery. Do you know what document forgery is? It's a crime, you know. And since you were trying to cheat me out of my money, it could be considered fraud as well. At my words, my wife rushed to apologize and said, I'm sorry I was cheating on you, but I don't know anything about forging a medical certificate. He wrote it for me. I nodded at my wife's words. He's an intern at Hospital A, right? Since he's still an intern, I wonder what would happen if they find out he did this crime. I hope he gets fired, but maybe he'll never become a doctor. In the middle of saying this, my wife turned so pale that I could see it, even through her phone, and started sweating. No, I thought everything was going to be fine, but my plan is ruined. My wife was going crazy. Your plans are on a child's level. Well, sucks for you. I told her that my lawyer would be in touch with her later, so be prepared. As I was about to hang up the phone, my wife panicked and said, Wait, I'm sorry. I won't do it again, so please reconsider the divorce. She pleads with me. There was no way I was going to listen to something that didn't benefit me. You guys are going to pay for your sins, I told her. And she finally started crying and screaming about something. But I didn't care anymore. I said nothing more and hung up the phone. After that, my lawyer handled everything. I asked for the alimony, plus the amount I had been cheated out of, and my wife and I got divorced without a hitch. I reported the affair to the hospital, and they caught the man for forging documents. I found out later that it was the man who planned this fake illness and overseas business trip, and my wife thought he was cool and did as she was told. Of course, I got him to pay me alimony too. I didn't report it to my wife's company, but the rumor spread through her coworkers I talked to on the phone, and they know she is desperate to pay the alimony. I've been enjoying my single life, but recently, a nurse I know invited me out for a drink. Maybe a chance has come my way. I'm hoping I can find a wife who doesn't go on overseas business trips this time. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We look forward to seeing you again. Please subscribe to our channel.